Hello, my friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Party Nerds Podcast. I'm Richard Gabai with my pal, Robert Carradine, and today we have an incredibly special guest that really doesn't need an introduction because if you're alive, you recognize Clint Howard. Ladies and gentlemen, Clint Howard. Let me remind you that we are coming to you from a triple secret location, high in the Hollywoodland Hills of Los Angeles. So please like, subscribe, and do all those things. And before we go back to absolutely the beginning, I want to jump right into this. Ladies and gentlemen, this book, co-authored by Clint and his brother Ron, is one of the greatest books about family, about brotherhood, and about our business that has ever been written, and that is not an overstatement.
Wow.
Bobby, have you read it?
No, but I'm going to buy it.
All right.
I can get you a copy, Bobby.
You know somebody?
We have access to the publisher.
Okay.
That must have been unbelievable to write this together with your brother.
First of all, thank you for those words. And yes, it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to my brother. And you know, after Dad died, we were orphans, and we realized how much we missed him. I mean, he had been passed away for a day or two, and all of a sudden it's like, my God, where's Dad? And then that made us reflect back on Mom, and it was like, God, it's, you know, we can talk about them for days. And then Ron approached me with the idea of saying, hey, you know, what do you think about maybe writing a book? Because he's been asked to write memoirs, and he's steered clear of it. But the idea of writing a memoir specifically directed about our childhood, being the fact that, you know, I worked as a juvenile actor for 15 or 16 years, and my brother worked as a juvenile actor for 14 years. And that was just the beginning. So, you know, to people want to know, what was it like to have a bear? And what was it like to be Opie? And so we answered those questions.
You brought that up.
Yeah.
This was my lunchbox in first grade.
Do you still have the thermos?
No thermos. Those glass thermoses broke really quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
Is that the actual lunchbox that you carried?
Okay. It's not the one I carried, but it's the one I carried.
Got it.
But I mean, epic. So I've known you since I was 5 years old. You know, and I was blessed to work with your dad. And you're talking about your dad, who was the quintessential professional actor. We made this independent film called Insight, and I couldn't believe the photo came on my desk, and I was like, wait, what? And he would have come in to meet me, and I said, no, if he's available, hire him. And he came in this old truck, you know, and Rance Howard probably has 500 credits, or I don't know what it is, but he came in this. Professional actor could be driving anything he wants. He shows up 20 minutes early in a truck with 300,000 miles on it, walks onto set, and just nails every single word. He was well into his 70s.
Oh yeah, no, Dad was a special man. And,
Very professional.
And as far as being a car guy, in my lifetime, he owned a 64 Chevy Nova, a 1975 Dodge Ram Charger, and then a Ford Explorer. Those are the three vehicles that he owned, and he paid cash for all of them. He was so proud that in 1964, my dad had scratched up enough dough to where he could, you know, I think it was $3,000 or $3,100 that my dad paid cash for. The last thing my dad ever bought on credit was a refrigerator. In like the 50s, he bought a refrigerator with Mom, and they had a warranty for 1 year, and like the day after the warranty expired, the refrigerator broke down. And it pissed him off, and he just vowed that he was going to just pay cash. And my dad, that's the way he operated. He was from the Depression, and he valued hard work, and he valued what he earned, and he kept what he earned. And those lessons, you know, I wish all of them would have rubbed off on me.
I wish you would have rubbed off on me too.
Yeah, we heard them. We heard those lessons,
Right, but
Bobby.
we didn't pay any attention.
20-30% of them, just
Yeah.
the easy ones.
Yeah.
The easy lessons
Well,
we
that
did.
was the part we kept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you both grew up with pretty famous working actor dads.
And brothers.
And brothers,
And brothers.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty unique.
You know, we have a lot in common.
You think?
I wanted to introduce you guys. Robert Carradine.
Yeah. Bobby, good.
Good to
God.
see you, man.
Seriously, I first met Bobby. I was in junior high school working on the Cowboys, and he was the veteran. It was him and A. Martinez.
Yeah, we were old people.
Yeah, they had just turned 18 years old. A may have been 19 or 20.
I think he was
Hey,
20,
wait a
yeah.
minute though, but stand by. They were older, but you were actually the veteran. You had already started a few TV series.
Oh, I had been working for over a decade by the time I worked on the Cowboys. And listen, this is kind of personal inside baseball. The Cowboys, for me, they only did 13 episodes. ABC, and I got hired. Originally, the director of the pilot was a guy named Bob Totten, and he was a fairly well-renowned Western guy, did a bunch of Gunsmokes. He did a TV movie that I was in with Henry Fonda and Maureen O'Hara called The Red Pony. Right. And I was 13 years old. And it was a wonderful job. I mean, I did great work, and I was really proud of the work. And then I got hired. Bob wanted to use me on the Cowboys. So I went through the casting process, and sure enough, I got hired. As it turns out, the role was not that thick. I mean, the money guys, A and Bobby, and they had to satisfy the adults in the television series. So there wasn't a lot for the fifth cowboy. And actually for about, a 2-month period, I didn't have a lot to do. And it kind of pissed me off a little bit.
As it should.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
But everyone was saying that kid's the cutest. I mean.
Well, the other thing is that why did they make it a half-hour show?
I don't know.
You can't have that many cast in a half hour. There's no time. Like you found out, there's no words.
And you can't have any action.
No, there's nothing left to do.
I just think they wanted to have boys on television. I think for whatever reason, we won't go into a lot of details.
You just figured out why it lasted 13 episodes.
Well, also, I think they didn't want to say no to David Dortort.
Yeah.
He'd done Bonanza for 20 years.
Yes.
So rather than say no, they just gave him an impossible situation.
Yes, you're right. But I'll tell you, here's another, this is very personal. When we were working on the show, Bobby was a great, like an older brother on the show. Him and A took us all in, and we had fun, and it was all fair fun. It was all clean fun. It was fun. But for whatever reason, I got a gasoline-powered remote control car. Maybe for my previous birthday. And I had no chance of putting it together myself. I was way over my skis. And I don't know, I brought it to work one day, and you saw it.
Yeah, I did.
And this is right in your wheelhouse. And
I'm an RC pilot.
And all of a sudden, Bobby Carradine is helping me, pretty much doing it himself, but coaching me along to put together this remote control car that was 1/16 scale. It was about yay big, and it had a big gas. I mean, it went way too fast. And
one of those loud motors in it. You had no chance of it surviving more than 3 rides.
No way.
No, and it didn't. It didn't. It slammed into a curb within seconds. Oh, well.
I think Bobby still has a RC airplane he's thinking about finishing.
I do have an RC plane, and it's only been under construction for about 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went ahead and became a flyer and
Yeah, I have my RC pilot's license.
Jesus.
There is no license, but I am an RC pilot.
Do you have like an enthusiast hat or something?
No,
that you wear?
no.
So anyway, but listen, the whole brother thing, I mean, the Carradines, a little older than the Howards. There were 3 of them and 2 of us, and we so admired your dad.
Oh, he admired you guys.
That, what a great character actor. What a great character actor John was.
Yep.
And in fact, listen, I am going to, before this is done, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about your dad, and your brothers. And in fact, wasn't David doing Kung Fu at the same time we were doing the Cowboys over at Warner Brothers?
He was, and I'll never forget it because one day we were all on the lot together at Warner Brothers, and my dad had a birthday party, and I was dressed like that at the birthday party.
Well, you were working.
I was working. He was so proud.
Yeah, and
Son?
Son.
Are you in wardrobe?
Yes, Dad.
We have a running joke because he often emulates the way his father would speak to him. And
I try to.
While I never was honored to meet him, I do feel like I know him, and I feel very blessed that Bobby got to know my dad before he passed away. Because look, we're all shaped by our parents.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, son, somebody loves her. That's what he would say whenever I saw an ugly boat at the marina. I say, Dad, look at that ugly piece of shit. He goes, son, somebody loves her.
Did he love the water?
Loved the water. He wanted to be a sea captain more than anything. And he actually owned a few boats in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, a hole in the water through which you pour money.
Now, where did he have it? Where did he moor? Was he a marina guy or?
Initially, he was in San Pedro Harbor during the war.
Yeah.
And then later on, he was at Channel Islands Harbor.
God, what our generation of youngsters in and around the business were blessed with being around so many wonderful characters and character actors. You know, I never got to work with your dad, but listen, Paul Ford and Sterling Holloway, and then of course, this Hank Fonda.
Oh,
getting the opportunity to work with Hank was
Hank
special.
Fonda.
Yes.
You can only
Hank.
call him that if you
Yeah,
worked with him.
exactly.
Well, yeah. I mean, on the credits he's Henry, but everybody called him Hank. My dad worked with Hank. My dad's first professional job involved Hank Fonda because Hank was doing Mr. Roberts in theater, and my dad got a job as Lindstrom.
Wow.
He was in the company. It was also one of those plays where I think that play was a big success because it was a bunch of men on a boat, sailors with their shirts off.
There you go.
And it worked well on Broadway.
Wow.
So anyway, but no, just, all those experiences growing up, being around all those people.
Yeah.
And you had the experience working with Duke.
I did. That was the original Cowboys.
God. See?
And I've mentioned it elsewhere in our podcast, but I did try to teach Duke how to say his line. And that was a mistake.
I wonder how many cigarettes he smoked
After that?
after he got pissed off at you.
So also, now I'm remembering that I was a guest at Albuquerque Comic Con, and you were there as well. So with all this stuff, I don't want to forget about anything, but the Star Treks, all the, what do the fans really, what do they really want to know about, to talk to you about most?
Star Trek is sort of in a league of its own. Just, the fact that it's been around for so long. We are approaching the 60th anniversary
Wow.
of my appearance on Star Trek. I think we're at 59 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive, man.
It really is. Listen, I'm not going to throw my shoulder out, patting myself on the back on that one because I didn't have much to do with it, except the fact that I had Dad and Mom, and I suited up and I showed up, and I guess I also, another thing that a lot of people forget, I auditioned for these roles. I auditioned to be in the Cowboys. I'm sure you auditioned to be in the movie.
I did.
And there was somebody that finished second. For my Star Trek episode,
Right.
there was some kid who probably gave a great audition and they ended up just flipping a coin and saying, well, we'll use this little Clint Howard, and there's little Johnny Smith, he's now bitter.
Yeah, well, he's on Vine Street.
In the costume.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but and of course, Gentle Ben was a show that left an impression because it was unique. A Boy and a Bear in the Florida Everglades.
I mean,
There's never been another one of those. But as an adult, Adam Sandler has had some sort of unique gift because The Waterboy, and my work on The Waterboy, the character that he said he'd be right for that role, and the Waterboy I get recognized a lot from. I mean, amazingly a lot.
What about Apollo 13?
Apollo 13 is first of all, Apollo 13 is a Hall of Fame all-time movie.
Oh, absolutely.
sure.
Yes.
It just works. I mean, the cast, the movie gods came down and kissed that with James Horner's music and of course Tom and Gary Sinise and Kevin Bacon and Bill Paxton and Ed Harris and Kathleen Quinlan. I mean,
No, it was major.
that was and I was real proud of that. I was real proud of being a part. I was a big fan of the space program, and certainly when Ron was circling that project. Right away, it was right in my wheelhouse. I was just the right age, and I looked right. I looked like one of those NASA guys.
Yep.
And Ron wanted me in the movie, and I read the script. And then he called me, and he goes, "Well, listen, what do you think? You read it. What do you think you'd be right for?" Mm-hmm. Well, I know I wasn't going to play Jim Lovell. That was already hired out to Tom Hanks. But I looked. I knew, and I said, I want to be the Ecom White guy. Because at the time they didn't have any names; it was just Ecom White. And Ron goes, "Okay, you'd be good in that." Ron also thought I might be good as the guy that puts together the
all the stuff so that the thing will work.
the scrubber,
thing.
the scrubber, the carbon dioxide scrubber. And okay, that's okay, but I wanted to be the Ecom White guy for one simple reason. I've been around my brother my whole life. And I've seen him direct. He started directing me when I was 11 years old. And I just know the way he works. And as a professional, he shoots a lot. And I certainly wanted to get a part that was in a pivotal part of the movie, because there's a really good chance that if you're not in the pivotal part of the movie, you may get cut out or cut way down. And I knew that. And the character ended up being Cy Liebergott, was the guy that I played. He was right there. It was his station that was watching the oxygen tanks of the command module and the service module. And when those oxygen tanks blew up, and Jim Lovell said, "Houston, we've had a problem." Right. All eyes turned to Cy Liebergott. Cy, what's going on? So I knew they couldn't cut that. They couldn't cut that. So I took that as an opportunity to get some extra screen time. But it ended up being a great role.
Oh.
And it was just about Apollo 13 for a second.
Oh, go for it.
The beautiful thing about that movie is the NASA guys had been approached to do space movies. And they all felt like they came up way short. They were silly. It was melodrama. Mm-hmm. It was kind of BS.
Right.
And when the NASA guys got wind of the approach that Ron was taking and Tom was taking and the writers were taking, and then they brought in a guy named John Sayles to do a ghost rewrite of the script, and he made it special.
So much for Ghost.
Yeah, well, yeah. You know what? He didn't want credit. John Sayles, Secaucus 7, renowned independent thinker and writer and filmmaker, didn't care. He didn't lobby to get screen credit, and he could have. And so, anyway, when those guys, the NASA guys, got wind of the approach that Ron was going to take, they bought in. And we had like a 2-week NASA boot camp that all the actors attended, and we were briefed on what they did, how they did it, and I think the actors picked up on the how they did it and what they said. That's okay, but it was the way, it was the approach, it was the attitude.
Right.
And like the guy, I met Cy Liebergott, became friends with him, and he was so candid with me. He could not wait till his shift was over. It was so nerve-wracking for him to do his job. He was not a cowboy. He was not a hero. He couldn't wait to go home. Now, there were guys that ended up staying for a week at Houston at Mission Control, just because they didn't really, they slept on cots, and they stayed there. And these were men that, and I hate to say they were men, but that's what they were at the time. NASA did not hire women. These men solved problems the old-fashioned way, with slide rules and chalkboards.
Right.
Where did you shoot the control room?
Yeah, Universal.
Oh,
I think
wow.
it's it's still there, stage 17, right there on the floor at Universal Studios.
Because that really looked good.
Oh, well, they made it. Listen, one wonderful thing is, first of all, I think Universal realized what they had, and they went to great lengths to recreate what it
They did it
felt
right.
like. They did it right.
It was a wonder.
Ron tells a funny story about the preparation to make Apollo 13, the movie, is they had built a control room. And the guys that worked as technical advisors, they were guys that had actually been on the mission. Dave Scott, the first astronaut to drive on the moon, was one of our technical advisors. So for 6 or 8 weeks when we were shooting those scenes at Mission Control, Dave was there every day. And if you wanted to, you could go and sit in a director's chair next to Dave Scott and ask him what it was like to operate a vehicle on the moon.
Right.
And he would tell you.
So what was it like?
What he told me, he goes, once they rolled for a couple of 100 yards and realized that they could have retrofitted a Volkswagen. That they spent millions and millions of dollars to develop this high tech with suspension that was all unique and all these things that were tricked out. And ultimately, they could have just gotten a Volkswagen and retrofitted it with a hydrogen engine and driven that on the moon. It would have worked. So anyway, that was David. But anyway, about this story is the technical advisors were seeing it for the first time, the mission control set. And Ron was talking with them, and they were going through shots and going through what they were going to do. And all of a sudden, one of the technical advisors says, "Excuse me, excuse me a second." And he takes off and he starts walking. And he walks out of the set, and a couple of seconds later, he comes back and he says, "Oh, excuse me. I thought I was walking to the restroom." The set looked so perfect for him that he thought he was there. He thought that the bathroom was around the corner, and he ran into the soundstage wall, and they had to tell him that, no, it's through the soundstage door and to the left. That's where the can is.
So Ron didn't make you audition. Have you had to audition for any of Ron's movies?
Not since Backdraft. Backdraft was around 1983 or 1984.
And you auditioned for Backdraft?
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Oh,
Ron,
man.
listen.
Hello, Ron. Listen. Clint's pretty pissed, man.
No, listen, I
get it.
You understand that. You understand that. Listen, if I'm having a barbecue, if my wife, Kat, and I are having a barbecue at our house, we're going to finally go down to the butcher shop, and we're going to say, let's look at the steaks. I want to see the steaks. That's why they have a big glass thing, so you can look at the merchandise. You don't just say, give me 15 steaks.
Well, I thought you'd go down there and you say, Kat, we don't need one for Ron.
No, he gets a Cornish game hen. No, the auditioning process, listen, I was young. Ron is delivering something to the studio.
Right.
He's delivering something for the investors. He's got a business partner that he works with.
And he's also, in a way, doing you a favor, because then it's not like
Yeah, and it was after, and I'll tell you what, Ron reminded me of this story. Brian has never told me this, but I know it's true. Brian Grazer is Ron's partner. Has been his partner in Imagine forever. After Brian saw the scene of me and Robert De Niro, I call him Bob, but that's
Of course,
okay.
Bob De Niro, yeah.
Bob De Niro, Hank Fonda.
Yeah.
After he saw the scene that I had with De Niro, he went up to Ron and he goes, "Your brother does not have to audition anymore."
Ah, finally.
Yeah, made me proud. But I'll tell you what, I can name 3 or 4 roles in movies that Ron has done that I have lobbied for another role, and Ron has said, "No, I don't really see it, Clint." And it pisses me off for a few minutes, but I respect it. He's
he
the
kind
guy.
of knows what he's doing. He's pretty good at it.
He's the chief of the boat. I'm a sailor. And if he wants to have me on board to be a sailor, I'll be a sailor, but I'm not chief of the boat, But I'll tell you what it was. It was a movie called The Paper. And I wanted to play, it was this great part. Jason Alexander ended up playing it.
Oh, wow.
It's a great scene. I thought I would have kicked ass in the whole thing.
Well, just think, if you would have kicked ass in that, you might have been Seinfeld.
Maybe.
You would have
Well,
been
and that's
George.
the other thing about all of us that are blessed to make a living in the arts, is that you would have kicked ass. But that doesn't mean that the other guy didn't. Like you're talking about when you were a kid and you're getting a TV show, And like the number 2, the kid who just didn't get it, probably would have been great also.
Not as good as me.
No, I'm only speaking for myself and Bobby, because
Well, you know, my old man always would say to me if he didn't get a part, he said, as long as the guy who got it was better than me.
Did he have a list? Did he? Did
A
you?
list of people he hated?
Yeah.
You mean besides his sons?
Well, in general, because listen, your dad was a character actor, and I mean,
So he had to have a list of character actors that always got shit that
Yeah.
he wanted, right?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of it.
Okay. My dad had a list. My
yeah?
dad had a list.
Who's
My-
Checking it twice?
who's on the list?
Well, I'll tell you what, he ended up working with him and found him to be a really wonderful guy, but for a long time, Bruce Dern. There were 3 or 4 roles that Bruce ended up nabbing that my dad thought that he would have been really right for.
Maybe starting with the Cowboys.
Yeah, maybe it would have been, you know, long hair.
Yeah, possibly. Well, listen, and it wasn't until my dad worked on a movie called Nebraska.
Oh,
And Bruce Dern, my dad,
they were both in it.
Yeah, my dad auditioned to play Bruce's role, and finally I think it was Thomas Paine, the director. Shit, I'm brain locking. But after my dad auditioned 2 or 3 times, and they said, "We love you, Rance, but we've got a chance to use Bruce Dern, and we're going to hire Bruce Dern, but we want you to play his brother." And my dad was very gracious, and having worked with Bruce, you know. My dad buried the hatchet really easy.
Right in his forehead.
My dad had a list, but it didn't affect him. My dad was, you know, God, a lifer in the business. Well, listen, my dad was not born in Hollywood. He was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. My dad was a farm boy. My dad was the first son of a farmer, and he was expected to be the next generation farmer. Right. And my dad had dreams, and he decided that he wanted to pursue show business, and his mother is the one that really sort of gave him the go.
Well, that was the thing about your dad, was his authenticity.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so real.
Yeah. Honest.
Yeah.
Really honest. And
Yeah.
in delivery,
Yeah.
you know, as an actor, at the end of the day, you can create a character that's really flamboyant, or a character that is larger than life, or children's theater, but you need to find honesty with it. And I think that's, you know, you've always been an honest actor.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you rarely phone it in. I'll tell you what, coming home,
Oh, thank you, man.
frigging really, really good work.
Hal Ashby, man.
Yeah. Well, you probably went through the casting session. You probably
No, they came straight to me.
really.
Yeah, because I could play the guitar. They wanted a guy who could play the guitar.
Those scenes, I still vividly. I've only seen that movie twice in my life, and those scenes, the scene when you're talking about or not, maybe not talking about it, but with the empty injection
Oh, right.
in the arm.
Yeah, where I'm going to take myself out, that one.
John Voight.
Yep.
John Voight.
You know, they added that scene.
Really?
Yeah, because they found in dailies that they really cared about this kid, and they didn't want to just talk about him offing himself. They wanted to see it. So that was cool.
John Voight and Jane Fonda and Bobby Carradine.
Hal Ashby.
Hal Ashby, Bruce Dern.
And as we've mentioned before, when Jane won the Oscar, she thanked Bobby Carradine.
That's as close as I have gotten so far to an
So
Oscar.
far, none of us are counting ourselves out.
We're not done.
No, we're just
We're
getting
not
good.
done. They could make a remake of Grumpier Old Men.
Yeah, and we could do it.
Yes, we could do it.
Well,
Like,
we got to
my
do it
beard, I
another
have a
10
white
years when
beard.
you guys get actually old.
Yeah. I don't know.
And you're still only working like just about every day, weren't you? Did you do something in the new Star Wars stuff?
Well, that was a couple of Star Wars movies ago, but I worked on Solo when Ron came and bailed out that movie because they had shot that movie. Get this, they shot Solo for 77 days before they replaced the directors.
Wow.
Think about that. It took them 77 days for them to go, oh, we don't think the dailies are coming out quite right.
Yeah, it tends to happen quicker than that.
Well, you know, if they've got a good sales pitch and, you know, a lot of it's supposed to happen in post, which with those movies I imagine it is, you know.
Listen, I was real proud of Ron with that movie, and when I heard, I wasn't around for this, but they hired Ron, and Ron said he called George Lucas, and George, the first thing George said when Ron said, well, they're going to hire me to continue on and shoot solo. And George's first words were, I told him to hire you in the first place. You know.
Yeah.
So, and then Ron was there with very little prep time. He only had 7 days of prep before they started shooting again. And they were going through the script, and Ron suggested that the character that I ended up playing, Rala Keeley, it was originally a woman. And Ron goes, that's not good optics. That this guy should be a crusty old fight manager like Mickey in Rocky. And they thought, oh, that's a really good idea. And then Kathleen Kennedy said, you know, that's a good spot for your brother.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Yeah, thank you, Kathleen. You got another one?
Yeah, and I would imagine also that, like, you know, because Star Wars fans, Star Trek fans, horror fans, they're the best fans. They're the most enthusiastic fans. They must.
Well, the horror fans are unique. You've done a few horror pictures.
I have.
You and I worked on one.
That's correct.
Roger Corman horror movie.
Yes,
Which
sir.
one?
Humanoids from the Deep.
Humanoids from the Deep. We shot it in Paradise Cove, a very scary place.
Well, if the restaurant isn't open, it can get pretty desperate around there.
I'll
If
tell
the
you
rest-
what,
if the
if
restaurant's
it's open,
It's
very
open, it
scary.
can be scary. You ever had lunch in there?
You know, not in
man.
a long time, but I will. It was, you know, in college, that was kind of a date place for Sunday.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, Roger Corman movie. And Bobby was playing the key guy. I never forget this. Roger Corman, notorious for austerity being a new level of, you know. One time I saw a craft service table and they had a bowl of those goldfish crackers. That was craft service on a Roger Corman movie. But when I worked on it, I saw that the humanoid from the Deep, the suit, and they had been shooting for a couple of weeks and it was already falling apart. They were putting it together
Well,
with
they probably already used it in 3 other movies.
Yeah, right.
gaffer's tape and all sorts
Remember
of
those
stuff.
guys, the McCain brothers?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hi guys. I don't know where you are in the world, but Clint and Bobby say hi.
Yeah.
McCain
Well,
brothers.
we all have been in a bunch of I've been in a bunch of Roger Corman movies myself. The remake of The Wasp Woman, Dinosaur Island, a movie I directed, Vice Girls, that I really didn't think was very good until Quentin Tarantino told me he loved it. That was distributed by Roger Corman. So he never lost a dime. He never paid anybody too much, but he kept us all busy. May he rest in peace.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
No, listen.
So-
I went through a stretch in my career where I had been a child actor, and then I didn't work a lot, and I was sort of out of sight, out of mind. And I'd done a couple of little parts, and nothing dramatic or anything like that. And yet I had worked for Roger Corman a couple of times, and he had no problems with me. He you know, and if I would be willing to work for scale, which at that time, you know, a paycheck is a paycheck.
For sure.
That they were willing to hire me, and I must have done, I probably acted in about 12 Roger Corman movies, including the one we worked on together.
There you go.
He was cheap, boy.
Yeah.
I remember I did one in Ireland, and it was a hit. So he decided to do part 2. He wouldn't bring back the lead actress because she wouldn't work unless he gave her a raise. He wouldn't give her a raise.
Well, I know the story actually. I heard that I never experienced this, but I did hear this firsthand. That he would have people over for dinner, and he would have like 12 people, and he would have like one chicken, and he would carve it like a surgeon, so that he could literally. This is the truth. This is the truth. Because I know first person, somebody was there. He would carve it like a surgeon so that he would miraculously get what appeared to be like a big piece on everyone's plate. And he would hit, and now, dinner time.
You do a pretty good Roger imitation.
Yeah, that's a very good Roger.
Richard, you hold the record now on the lot for most setups in one day. I did. I was directing a series, a Showtime series for him, and we did 21 pages in a courtroom with 110 setups in one day.
Wow.
And no, it wasn't good, but it was done.
Yeah, but still.
You know,
Okay, roll on the rehearsal.
Hey.
Great, got it. We're over here.
That's literally doing a setup every couple of minutes.
well, we did have 2 cameras,
Yeah.
but it was 110 setups, 21 pages in one day on film. You know, in the good old days.
Yeah.
And you've also actually done you've done a billion voices. You enjoy that stuff?
Well, you can dress like this when you go to work, and you don't have to put on makeup. You know, I was very fortunate. The Walt Disney people found me when I was about 6 years old, and I did the voice of Roo in Winnie the Pooh.
Wow, cool, man. I got to watch that now. Let me add that to the list.
Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, the very first Winnie the Pooh.
Amazing.
It wasn't even a full-length feature.
Right.
Wait, what was it?
Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day. It was an animated.
The Blustery Day.
30 minutes?
35 or 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's the ultimate. That's the Winnie the Pooh classic. I mean, it's yeah. You aged out of being able to do that voice.
Yes, I worked with a kid years and years later, back in the 2000s. Jimmy Bennett. Jimmy Bennett played Roo when he was a child. I worked with him. I worked with Jimmy on a movie called Alabama Moon, and just by coincidence, he had done a version of Roo in the late 90s or something like that. But I did Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, and then a couple of years later, I did The Jungle Book.
That's a good one.
Which character were you in the Jungle Book?
I was the baby elephant. I was Hathy Jr.
Oh.
The marching song.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I've said this a lot. That was my opportunity. I met Walt Disney.
Wow.
For a few seconds. I was recording my marching song at a grand piano at the Disney scoring stage, and I don't know, the Sherman Brothers were the composers, and it was probably one of the Sherman Brothers that was there at the piano trying to keep me in time.
Right.
You know, I mean, tone deaf and rhythm challenged. It's not really completely accurate, but that's kind of what.
But you're a rock and roll singer, so that's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I fit right in as a Kempster. But anyway, I was working on the marching song, and they were recording me, and I saw Walt Disney's through the engineer's window, you know, between the stage and the booth. I saw his silhouette, and I knew Disney. You know, I was a Disney baby. I went to Disneyland in a stroller, for crying out loud.
Amazing.
And then I saw he disappeared, and then I saw his head peek through the window of the soundstage door, and we weren't rolling. And he opened the door. He took a couple of steps into the soundstage. He gave me a salute, and he goes, "You're doing a fine job, Clint." And he gave me a salute and walked away.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know. Anyway, and I've done a few others. I've done other voices, but those, you know, the Disney is.
Especially he's right there. You met him.
Yeah.
And a funny aside is when we first moved into this neighborhood, the Holly Woodland Hills, we were walking around and we met a neighbor who's just like 7 houses up from here. And I talked to the guy, very friendly guy, and I'm walking away with my wife. And I said, you know, that guy just reminds me. He goes, that guy looks exactly like Walt Disney. Anyway, it's his nephew.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow,
I forgot his name, but yeah, like Walt Disney's nephew lives up the street. I mean, but it's weird, like the physical, when you meet someone that's it was like physical, it was the vibe, very kind of the same stature and everything. It took me a few minutes, and then I said, that guy looks he's Walt Disney. And then I spoke to another neighbor. They go, oh, that's his nephew.
Did you have a chance to do any Disney shows when you were a kid or young?
Well, I did this one Disney show called The Fabulous Minnie, and it was to celebrate Minnie Mouse's birthday, and it was with me and Suzanne Summers.
Wow.
Wow.
And that was one of them. Then I did another one called The Liberators up in Canada. It was me and one of my Nerds co-stars, Larry B. Scott. And he and I were running an underground railroad to help the slaves escape. And I'll never forget this. The director, for some reason, and I don't know what I did to this guy, but he hated me, like right out of the gate. And there's a scene where I had to get slapped by the leading lady. So she says, is it okay if I slap you? I go, yeah, you know, a couple times, sure, that's fine. 12 takes.
Did you get a stunt bump?
No.
He just got a little rosy cheek.
Oh, but here's the best part of that story. I saw that director in Century City with a tow truck picking up his Mercedes, and the license plate said director. I thought, what a dick.
Well, on that note, hey, I want to remind everyone again, this book is freaking fantastic. Everyone should read it and get it. It changed a lot of perspective for me. it made me feel a little bit better about what I'm doing and reminded me to do more of the right things and the good things. And it's a great pleasure to have you on the show. Clint Howard.
Yeah.
A legendary
Fucking
Bobby
great,
Carradine.
man. Fucking great.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another exhilarating episode of the Party Nerds Popcast. I'm Richard Gabai, Bobby Carradine, Clint Howard. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next show.
Yeah.